Again this year, I've been fascinated with the story of the Shulamite and the king of Song of Solomon, the greatest song that ever was written. The Song of Songs, kind of like the King of Kings. The Shulamite starts off the chapter by asking that the king would kiss her, that he would kiss her with the kisses of his mouth, and she proclaims that his love is better than wine. In essence, she's saying, would you encounter me with your word, because your encounters are better than anything else in the world. And then she says something to the effect that she wants to be drawn away. Draw me after you and we will run together. The drawing after reflects the intimacy that she has with the king, and the running together reflects the ministry with the king. She says that the king has brought me into his chambers and we should rejoice over him with gladness and all of these things. And then later she says something really interesting. She has a paradox. She says that I am dark but lovely. She understands that she is imperfect and she sees her darkness, but she understands that there is one who actually does love her. The next verse, she goes on to talk about what made her dark. She says she's been tending to her mother's and brother's vineyard, and the sun has made her dark. So much so that it brought her shame. And she says, do not look upon me because the sun has made me dark. What's interesting to me is, as she's speaking to the king, how he responds to her. The first things he says when he speaks to her, the first voice that you hear him say in the chapter, in the whole book, he says, don't you know how beautiful you are? He starts by affirming her. He gives her a reality that's bigger and greater than she feels. She feels shame because of her darkness, but he sees her as beautiful. So much so that he begins to compliment her. He talks about her neck and all of these things. He says how wonderful she is. She's basically then, in verse 12, she finds herself seated with him at the table. She sits with him. And then after she sits with him, she thinks about him all night. She says, my beloved is to me a bundle of myrrh that rests all night on my heart. But what is beautiful is how he deals with her. And I believe this is so wonderful about God. God, he speaks to her about how lovely she is. He gives her affirmation to when she speaks again, she says something like this. She says, I am the rose of Sharon. I'm the lily of the valley. He affirms her in her beauty so much so that it changes the way she thinks about herself. Many of us don't have a right relationship with God, thus we don't have a right relationship with ourselves. We can't see ourselves right, so many times we find ourselves full of shame, or maybe depressed, or full of resentment or bitterness. But I love how the way he speaks to her. He speaks beauty and affirmation and grace and mercy to her. He tells her how lovely she is, and he affirms her so much until then she affirms herself as the rose of Sharon, as the lily of the valley. I would say to you today that there is one who loves you in such a tremendous, wonderful way. There is one who rejoices over you in heaven with singing. There is one who cares for you even when you don't care for yourself. There is one who sees you as beautiful even when you see yourself as dark and full of shame. And I pray that one, the God who affirms, who loves, speaks to you today so that you can feel and you can walk in his love.